prophet Micah, with what shall I come before the Lord, and bow myself before God on high? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? God has shown you, O people, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God.
Hear these words from the 33rd Psalm. The Lord looks down from heaven. He sees all the sons of men from where he sits enthroned. He looks forth on all the inhabitants of the earth. He who fashions the hearts of them all and observes all their deeds. The king is not saved by his great army. The warrior is not delivered by his great strength. The war horse is a vain hope for victory, and by its great might it cannot save.
From the book of Job. And now my soul is poured out within me. Days of affliction have taken hold of me. The night racks my bones, and the pain that gnaws me takes no rest. Yet does not one in a heap of ruin stretch out his hand, and in his disaster cry for help? Did I not weep for him whose day was hard? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? But when I looked for good, evil came, and when I waited for light, darkness came. My heart is in turmoil and is never still. Days of affliction come to meet me. I go about blackened, but not by the sun. I stand up in the assembly and cry for help.
The words of Micah, the 7th chapter. The nations shall see and be ashamed of all their might. They shall lay their hands on their mouths, their ears shall be deaf, and they shall lick the dust like a serpent, like the crawling things of the earth. They shall come trembling out of their strongholds. They shall turn in dread to the Lord our God, and they shall fear. Here ends the reading.
We are here today because we share some of the same feelings. Because we share feelings of grief, of anticipation, of anxiety. Because the world in which we live has changed drastically and quickly. On January 16th at 5 o'clock, our world went to war. And the country in which you and I live, the government that we vote for, and with taxes we pay, we began a war. And that war has produced in us, at least it's our feeling, a tremendous tangle of emotions. Emotions from nationalism to patriotism to pacifism and everything in between, the combinations of all of those. As a culture, we don't seem to do very well with our emotional energy. But we have tried. We've tied miles of yellow ribbon to car antennas and to oak trees. We've stood in front of the post office and the courthouse for hundreds of collective hours. We've been to flag rallies and peace marches. We have sent valentines to soldiers, and as a people, angry letters to newspapers. You and I have spent hours trying to convince each other that our viewpoint is valid. We've huddled in front of the television for amongst us, which probably is thousands of hours, hoping for some information that will make sense of whatever it is that moves inside of us, that wants words and actions from within us. But underneath all the talk you and I make of supporting our troops, of opposing tyrants, of practicing Gandhian nonviolence, my suspicion is that we are shocked, deeply shocked and frightened. And that we've begun, ever so slightly, to grieve for what we perceive we are losing or have lost, and for what we are afraid that we will truly lose. No matter what side we find ourselves on in time of war, War diminishes us all. Those who wait, those who fight, those who watch, those who worry. War produces an incredible set of feelings inside of us. And if you walk the battlefield at Gettysburg, you can feel in the trees and in the grass a tremendous grief that cannot be silenced by all the years that have passed between. And if you walk the streets of Dresden, Germany, you can feel in the heart of that town where 36,000 people died in 1945 on Valentine's Day, you can feel the fear that must have seized them. And when you stand at the Rose Garden on 93 and run your finger across the bronze names of David J. Allison or Francis John Zandy, you can feel a sadness that is simply unresolvable. So you and I and the people of Tel Aviv and Baghdad are suffering from fear and anxiety and grief that threaten to divide us from our best and most loving self. You and I and the soldiers on both sides of the Kuwaiti border are suffering from the inevitable fear that we are about to lose something terribly precious, and we've begun to grieve and to lose. And we all lose. No matter how many military victories our country makes, we are all living in a condition of fear that threatens to alienate ourselves, from each other, and from the God who moves us. In our community, right here, there are those of us who fear that someone we love will be harmed or killed or maimed or injured. And some of us are haunted by the vision of world peace that we thought we were working for that seems so quickly and immediately threatened and possibly destroyed. And all of us know that there is something happening beyond our control that will change us and the world in which we live for many, many years to come. And in many ways, if we are honest, I think we find out that we are both guilty and victim at the same time. And we wonder what is right, what is just, what is true, and what is the Christian response. But at least we are not alone, because we can come together in this safe place as people with divergent political views. And possibly, for the next 30 minutes, you and I can put down the words we've been saying and ask ourselves, what is that emotion that moves me? What am I most deeply afraid of? What is the anxiety that I seem to move away from? And we can do that as brother and sister. And maybe some of the honesty we can find within ourselves, and some of the peace we might generate, might make a difference to us, the words we speak, and the community in which we live. So we invite you to listen, to spend 2 minutes of silence between each talk, to read those psalms as if those were psalms written in your heart. Those were your words. And we pray that our time together will bring us together and help us to understand more deeply how fear and grief and anguish maims us all.
We prayed and held our breath and hoped against hope that another way would be found, that this war would not begin. But it did begin. And when it did, it was like having the breath knocked out of us. We sighed and groaned and cried out in pain and fear and grief. We wandered around, 1 minute glued to the news, the next minute turning away. A 4-year-old girl asked her mother, "Then God didn't answer our prayers." And 2 preteen boys asked their father, "Will the war come here? Will I have to go? What will we do?" A son who joined the army for financial reasons and now finds himself on the front lines of the war tells his mother not to worry. And she cries and cries and cannot stop crying. The initial shock has passed now. We've gotten used to the war news and pictures. Life goes on as it must. And the sharp pain becomes a dull ache. The grief and fear and loss get covered over in one way or another. But we feel ourselves carrying it helplessly, this hurt beneath, this weight we cannot shake, this bad dream that won't go away. It adds to the other hidden hurt in our lives. It swells. Our hearts feel heavy, withered, weakened, and the most vulnerable among us seem to suffer the most. We find ourselves still sighing, groaning a lot, trying to get enough breath, and holding our breath again too, waiting still for even worse news to come, the beginning of the ground war. We brace ourselves for the worst. We look for someone to hold on to. We remember what the last war did to us, and we don't want to imagine what is happening, what is yet to happen in this war. We try to block out those memories, to avoid those thoughts, to sedate these feelings. But without warning and outside of our control, the painful reality keeps breaking to the surface again and again and again. And where is God? Where is God hiding? Are the prayers and sighs of our hearts being heard? Where is God's face? Where is our God? Here in the hurt beneath? Here in all the pain and grief
O Lamb of God, who takes away the sins of the world, have mercy upon us.
Oh God, my God, I cannot believe we are at war. War is not the answer. Perish the day that we set up our own military personnel as aliens. We estrange their humanity by setting them in the territory, the laboratory of the desert, with missiles, tanks, and bombers. Star Wars featuring the United States. Walk with them, Jesus, as they experience the alienation and pain of war. Oh God, my God, I cannot believe we are at war. I feel so cut off from Missoulians. Some judge what my courthouse standing is. Others judge me wearing a yellow ribbon. Don't we ever ask questions or listen to answers when we stand eyeball to eyeball with one another? I am scared when I hear we have fired the first shot. I am so disappointed to listen how used the members of Christ's body are by governmental bodies. I fear retaliation on U.S. citizens of Iraqi extraction by U.S. citizens. Walk with us, Jesus, as we feel the alienation and pain of war. Oh God, my God, I can't believe we are at war. We are so filled with confusion, unable to verbalize that maybe war isn't okay. We don't do well at feeling badly. It's my sister, father, mother, brother, friend who wages this war. They are the pawns of our greed. We have alienated them. Walk with them, Jesus, as they experience the alienation and pain of war. First, we corralled the Native Americans, and then the Japanese. What will our desperation lead us to next? Your own chosen people were cast off their land. Society rejected them. Do we never learn from our mistakes? Teach us, Jesus, to learn from our history. Job has said, "Remember, my life is like that of the wind. I shall never see happiness again." Are those also the words of people on both sides of the Saudi border? Because of the war, many people in the United States of America exist with unrelieved hardship and economic depression. Enhance their journeys with your love and your compassion, God. Enable them to teach us how to survive loneliness and fear. Breathe upon us, Spirit, the wisdom of Jesus. Oh God, my God, I cannot believe we are at war. God, who is Saddam Hussein? Didn't you create him? What about George Bush? Don't you trust the words he uses? Give me the right hunch. Empower my confidence and reliance upon you. I know you are there, and I know you are here. I believe you create the people of Kuwait, Iraq, Iran, Saudi, the United States, and our many allies. I would hesitate, oh God, to walk in your shoes, even for a moment. How can you be for us creatures? Do you choose to be? Thank you for loving us in spite of ourselves when we crawl deep into the depths, hurting and angry, separated, feeling so estranged. You are there. Oh God, my God, I cannot believe we are at war. War is not the answer.
We are here today, O God, feeling naked and afraid, wrapped only in our grief and the tatters of our loneliness and loss. We sit in the midst of sackcloth and ashes. Our hearts are heavy and as cold as stone. In truth, O God, there is no hope in us. It just feels so bad, this war. I mean, when we let ourselves think about it, when our defenses slip and those feelings of loss, of loneliness, of fear and despair overtake us. It feels so bad that the pain and fear and hopelessness literally push us into a dark corner of our soul, where we hug our knees to our chest in a desperate attempt to keep our hearts from breaking. And we sit there in the darkness like a small child, waiting for rescue and comfort, waiting for someone to come and wipe our tear-stained faces to put their arms around us and say that we are forgiven, that we are loved, and that everything will be all right. But no one comes. We are not children, and we have not made a children's mistake. We are adults, and our world is at war. In the darkness, the horror of that knowledge and the guilt that it carries rises up and seems at times to wrap around us so tightly that we cannot breathe. And in our panic, we cry out, "I am not guilty. I'm not responsible for all of this. How could I be? It's not my fault. I tried. I really tried." And in the silence that follows, we hear the hollow echo of our words. I tried. Try, that's what we can do. We can try harder to understand, to make sense of all of this, to do something that will work, that will fix it. We'll write more letters, attend more rallies, wear ribbons, say prayers, go to meetings, make signs, organize groups, carry out projects. We will make people understand. And so we get caught up in doing, in being busy, very busy, and it feels better. Until one day we notice that our signs don't all say the same thing, that all of the ribbons aren't the same color, and that my prayers don't carry the exact same petitions to God that your prayers carry. And the icy fingers of fear grip our heart, and in desperation we are angry. And those of us who work for peace are angry with those who seem to support the war. And those of us who support the troops are angry with people who work for peace and seem not to support them. And we all cry out in one voice, "Don't you know you are ruining everything? Don't you know that people will be hurt, that the world will be changed forever if you keep doing what you are doing, if you keep undoing what I am doing? Don't you know that people will die? Someone I love will die, and it will be all your fault. It will be all my fault," a small voice echoes. I said she should join the reserves. It seemed like a good idea at the time. And I meant to tell him, I really meant to tell him what it was like to be a soldier in war, to be alone and cold, watching and waiting. I meant to tell him, but it just hurt so much to remember. And I meant to write those letters to Washington, D.C., and to call my congressman, and I meant to go to that peace march last Thursday. And I never meant to be angry with her when she called from the Gulf yesterday. I never meant to tell him when he called from the desert how difficult the children are these days and how frustrated I am, how nothing is right without him, without her, and how I just can't take it anymore. But I did. And the list of things I didn't do seems endless. And what if those letters I didn't write, and those signs I didn't carry, what if they would have made all the difference? And what if she worries about me when they shouldn't be, when they should be thinking about something else? And what if he doubts his decision to be there? And what if she doubts my support, my fidelity? And what if they doubt our love and it kills them? But we can't think about that. It's simply too hard. So we use the energy of our anger to climb out of our grief and guilt by being again very busy and angry and guilty, running from despair and being angry and busy and guilty and angry. And we are, it seems, on some kind of deadly wheel, going round and round, stopping only in those dark, lonely corners we are trying to avoid. So we keep going around and around and around, trying not to stop, not knowing how to stop, afraid to stop. But we have stopped today. We have stopped here, not in our own private darkness, but here together in this safe place. And we feel naked and afraid, wrapped only with loss and fear. We sit here amidst the grief and ashes, together, waiting. But we are not children, and nothing and no one but you, O God, can save us. You can and you have promised to be with us. Our hearts are cold and heavy as stones. Our only hope is you, Comforter God. And we invite you, we implore you to come and be in the midst of us.